Fans of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings had to wait nearly a century for the definitive adaptation of their favorite fantasy epic. Peter Jackson's Oscar-winning triumph still remains one of, if not the greatest fantasy story ever put to screen. With astounding performances from the ensemble cast and groundbreaking special effects, The Lord of the Rings trilogy is without equal. Even Peter Jackson's own The Hobbit doesn't measure up to his original trilogy, as it expands on a brief story to a degree that felt somewhat indulgent. Now, Amazon's massively budgeted new series takes on the challenges of not only equaling Jackson's 6 movies, but managing to court diehard fans of the source material while also converting newcomers to the detailed and rich mythos of Middle-earth. Thankfully, The Rings of Power is not only a stunning achievement on the small screen, but superior to Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy. After purchasing the television rights to The Lord of the Rings in 2017, many wondered what Amazon's $250 million investment would look like. With a 5-season commitment and a budget totaling $1 billion, Tolkien's estate dictated the new series could not be a sequel to The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. With enough money pledged to the project to make it the most expensive television series of all time, Prime Video's The Rings of Power takes the story of Middle-earth back to the Second Age, a period we have never before seen on screen. With so much detailed material in the volumes of history that Tolkien assembled over the years, The Rings of Power takes viewers back in time to showcase characters hinted at in stories and passing references in the feature films, while echoing the production design of Jackson's big screen saga. From Howard Shore's familiar-sounding theme for the series to the youthful iterations of characters portrayed by Cate Blanchett and Hugo Weaving, The Rings of Power fits beautifully alongside the beloved movies while deepening the richness of Middle-earth with all new locations, characters, and stories. Having seen the first 2 episodes of The Rings of Power, I can say without a doubt that it is one of the most stunning television series I have ever seen. Filmed on location in New Zealand, like Peter Jackson's films, The Rings of Power evokes the lush natural beauty of mountains, fields, and forests that gave the movies a tangible feel, while also using a ton of special effects that look absolutely real. From practical makeup effects on orcs and other monsters to computer-generated creatures, buildings, and backgrounds, at no point did I watch these episodes and feel anything but awe at the scale this creative team was able to generate. Even watching The Hobbit, the special effects sometimes took me out of the story. I never had the feeling during The Rings of Power. It also helps that Bear McCreary's score eloquently echoes Howard Shore's mesmerizing film music while forging its own soundscape. The Rings of Power also boasts a great cast. While it does not have any actors who have the name recognition that the feature films carried, these performances more than speak for themselves. In the first 2 episodes, we are introduced to Morfydd Clark's take on Galadriel and Robert Aramayo's Elrond. Both elves were key characters in The Lord of the Rings, but more as stoic leaders than direct participants in the events. Here, both are vital to the ongoing war against Sauron, a threat that is far different than the spectral eyes seen in the films. These actors lend significantly different angles to the characters that deepen Cate Blanchett and Hugo Weaving's performances, while giving us new insight into how they contributed to this massive story. There's also a retinue of new characters from all walks, including Ismael Cruz Cordova as Arondir, an elf who shares some characteristic similarities with Orlando Bloom's Legolas, the legendary Isildur, played by Maxim Baldry, a human warrior, Nazanin Bonyadi as the human healer Bronwyn, Charles Edwards as Celebrimbor, the elf who forged the titular rings, Benjamin Walker as Elf High King Gil-galad, and Peter Mullen and Owain Arthur as Dwarf Royals Durin III and Durin IV. The cast of The Rings of Power is significantly more diverse than in the films, with actors of various ethnicities and nationalities contributing to the ensemble. The racial makeup of the cast keeps the story feeling much more rounded, especially since we are seeing more regions and cultures from Middle-earth than ever before. One such group is the Harfoots, the ancestors of hobbits. Sharing similarities to the Baggins, Brandybucks, and Gamgees, the Harfoots are a lovable group of diminutive characters. At the center, we spend a lot of time with Harfoot youths Nori Brandyfoot, played by Markella Kavanagh, and Poppy Proudfellow, played by Megan Richards, 2 troublesome and adventurous Harfoot teens who stumble upon a mysterious man played by Daniel Wayman. This stranger, who falls from the sky in a flaming meteor, is one of the more intriguing characters who could very well end up being a familiar key character from The Lord of the Rings. The first 2 episodes do not even introduce half of the characters shown in the trailers for The Rings of Power, and that alone means that there is a lot in store for audiences. The first season of the series is only 8 episodes, and there's a lot of story here in just 2 hours of screen time. Without revealing any of the plot, I can tell you that J.A. Bayona has managed to do Peter Jackson proud. The Rings of Power contains a couple of brief action sequences in the opening chapters, but spends a great deal of time orienting us to the time period and setting of Middle-earth's Second Age. That means there's a lot of talking and a lot of similar sounding names that you will need to keep track of, but None of it feels like it's riding on the coattails of The Lord of the Rings. The rings themselves are not mentioned once, but the trajectory of where this series is going is very clear. I never once was bored during these 2 hours either. If anything, I was more excited to take this journey and then revisit each of the feature films again. Showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay have taken the dense historical records left by Tolkien and turned them into marquee television. The Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power is an absolute masterpiece of television that has upped the ante from what we can expect from a streaming series. After seeing this series, I don't think we can ever call TV the small screen again. The Rings of Power is an achievement in every sense of the word, with the best special effects, production design, and music of any show to date. As a fan of The Lord of the Rings, I'm very happy and cannot wait to see where this story will go next. That's why I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching JoBlo videos. If you like this content, make sure to like this video and click on the bell to receive notifications for our latest videos.